Yeah, I love the drama, so I had to trim this horse in such a way so you could understand that. I didn't quite finish because I wanted you to see how long this horse's hoof was to begin with. Each one of those trim pieces are about 2 months of growth. So this monster's where I started. And I can challenge you just to tell me where it needs to come off. Take a good hard look at that hoof. Can't you actually see where the stable part of the hoof is just by looking nearly a third of the way up? You can see that line and see exactly where that hoof really is stable. Check this guy out from underneath. Let me tell you what you're looking at. The plump brown thing is the frog, but look at those bars around it. When I say bar, I mean that brown hoof wall looking business that is surrounding that frog. It's referred to as the bar, and it's actually an extension of the hoof wall. And you can see how it actually covers the actual sole of the horse's hoof, that white part that you see underneath it and in front of it. This is extremely overgrown, but what it does, it helps to provide stability and regulate flexibility toward the back of the hoof. You can see when a horse stands and lands, it's going to provide that hoof protection and it lands and bears weight. So what I'm doing here is cleaning that area up. And you remember at the beginning of this video how overgrown this hoof was. I'm really going to have to pull out a lot of that bar. Check this thing out. Now a lot of people would call this false sole, but it's actually the bar of the hoof. So I'm going to just bury my nippers in here. I'm going to avoid the B-L-O-O-D, which isn't really hard to do because this hoof is so darn overgrown. I'm going to pull this thing and see what I can do. See if I can wedge it, get a hold of some of the other edges, see if I can get this nippers in there real good. Pop, there it is. Ooh, look at that. Yeah, let me just throw that aside and get on with this trim. Yes, that frog's the right shape, but man, it's really diseased and overgrown. But I'm going to throw my knife in it and see what oh, look how clean. Isn't that something? Look how clean this thing is when I get it. There you go. Now I'm going to get those collateral grooves. Those are those edged grooves there. Because one of the functions of the frog is to expel debris. And I really want to get that really, really clean so that when this horse's hoof flexes, it'll kick that debris out. And because it doesn't have debris in there, it will not disease and get thrush and hold rocks that could hurt the hoof. And you see any of the dark areas of that frog, I'm going to clean that up. I think the center of the frog is often neglected. People often leave those. That really does need to get cleaned up because thrush is a oxygen-hating bacteria. So you really do need to get those areas clean so there's no room for thrush to hide in there and disease the hoof. There we go. We're starting to look pretty good. And I'll finish this up and then start taking a look at the sole. If you look at this, it looks pretty darn good. And you see the length that's at that toe. See that? Look to the right. There'll be plenty to attack this from the front. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this hoof forward. And you can see how doggone much hoof I have to take off. So I'm going to go around once. Believe it or not, I'm going to go for round 2. Each one of those is about 2 months of growth. But watch this. I'm going to take this and flip it on its backside and see where we are. Now, if you got a lot of experience, you can see there's a lot of room to work with at the toe, and I really haven't knifed that out. And it's pretty darn deep in sole. And I'm just going to bring that hoof wall back to the widest part of this frog, and I'm really trying to leave a lot of toe callus to protect the toe of the horse's hoof. Yeah. And I'll start working this with my rasp. And up until this time, it's been a pretty rough go, but now we're getting to where I need to start getting into some of the smoother, finer work and getting even more concerned about the balance and more concerned about leaving sole. If you have a lot of experience, you see where that frog is located and where that toe is, you see, I hope, a whole lot of sole for protection being left on this horse. And here we are about the finish. A nice, smooth, balanced hoof. A lot of sole for protection. The frog and heel is placed in a good spot. And a horse is ready to take off.